Gracious and loving God, we come before you yet again this morning, asking, expecting, waiting for you to say something new to us. So God, we ask that you would open our ears to hear, our eyes to see. Lord, most of all, would you open our hearts to know your love in a new way this morning. We pray all this in your holy name. Amen. In a recent survey of 2,000 people inquiring about what they worry about most, these top 20 things came to light, beginning with the lowest concerns first. Number 20, worried about the area I live in and crime levels. Number 19, a pet's health. Number 18, if my dress sense is good. That's one of my concerns. Number 17, meeting work targets or goals. Number 16, whether I'm a good parent raising my children right. Number 15, a friend or family member I've fallen out with. Number 14, whether I'll find the right partner or whether my current partner is the right one. Number 13, whether my partner still loves me. Number 12, whether or not I am attractive. Number 11, I need to find a new job. Number 10, I seem to be generally unhappy. Number 9, paying the rent or mortgage. Number 8, worried about my physique. Number 7, wrinkles or aging appearance. Number 6, job security. Number 5, financial or credit card debts. Number 4, my diet. Number 3, low energy levels. Number 2, worried about my savings or financial future. And the number one thing that people worry about is getting old in general. You know, I find this survey to be absolutely fascinating. It depicts well what we so often value as a society. And I confess this morning that I was a bit disappointed, though not surprised, by the results we're ordering. Money and financial concerns are so often at the very forefront of our minds. These are often the things that keep us awake at night. And I confess to you this morning that in our household, I have always been the one who worries the most about finances. Thank God for Hillary saying, don't worry about it. What I find most interesting concerning really is that areas of relationships, connectedness, family, that these are lower down our worry priority list. And my hunch is that many of us this morning, even here, have a list of a similar order. But why? Why is it that we would be so foolish to put our finances before our relationships? Money over loved ones, earthly things over godly things. When I think about this survey, it seems to me that really the ideal would be to flip the survey so that the lower half would become the top half. That the relational, the family, and those things would become our priority. Thus what we worry about most. In our scripture passage today, we listen in on Jesus admonishing his disciples to not worry about the things that the rest of society worries about. Yet as much as I hear these words of Jesus, I hear my own voice saying, well, that's easy for you to say, Jesus. But I'm different. I have a life, kids, a mortgage. How in the world am I not supposed to worry about such things? And then I hear Jesus yet again saying to me and to you, trust me. Follow me, live in my ways, do the things that I have called you to do, be who I have called you to be. And and everything will work out. Trust me. Do not be afraid. And then Jesus somewhat seals the deal with these honest words. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You know, most credit card companies, when they send you your bill, for better or worse, you can receive an itemized explanation of your month's spending broken down categorically. Groceries, travel, restaurants. Any of you taken advantage of this feature? Great, 4 of you. But I always find these reports most interesting because I think it's fascinating and sometimes a really brutally honest look into our lives. I'd actually encourage each of us to take a look at these reports, especially during this stewardship season, because you see our spending habits are the lens into our life habits. Quite clearly, it tells the story of what matters most to us. Recently, Hillary and I have spent a fair amount of time reflecting on this concept of where your treasure is, there your heart is. Each year at this time, we get together to wrestle the question of where we are being called to put our money and our time. And each year, we grapple with asking ourselves the questions, what matters most to us? What is important to us? And then we have to ask ourselves the much bigger and more challenging question. What is important to God? I would argue that this is the core of what Jesus is saying here in the Gospel according to Luke. When God looks at me, at us, does God see that we have put our treasure, our hearts, in the right place? Does he see compassion? Does he see mercy? Does he see grace? Does he see generosity? When God looks at us, does God see that our treasure is in the right place? St. Augustine so succinctly writes, where your pleasure is, there is your treasure. Where your treasure is, there is your heart. Where your heart is, there is your happiness. How often do we get this whole concept backward? We focus on the things in life that in the end won't matter one bit. The new car that we bought will one day be a pile of rust, I'm sorry to say it. The new TV one day will just refuse to turn on. The new clothes will be out of style within about a year. Your new iPhone's screen will most likely be shattered at some point. The new computer that you just bought, it's obsolete before you even walk out of the store. The new shoes will wear out. For you see, none of these things, none of them are permanent. All of them are temporary. All of them have a shelf life. The reality is, and I'm sorry if this comes as a bit of a shock to any of us, but we too have a shelf life. We are only temporarily on this earth, but for a moment in the history of the universe. Think about that for a second. Our lives are momentary, thus, while we are on this earth, we must make the very most of it. We must tend to the needs of others, the things that matter most. We must tend to the godly things. As you think about your own life, particularly during this stewardship season, I ask you this morning, what matters most to you? What matters most to you? At the end of the day, when you look back over your 70, 80, 90, 100 years of life, where will you have stored your treasure? Where will you have invested your time? How will you have spent your life? My hope, my prayer for each and every one of us is that our list of priorities would begin with the things that matter most. We have but one life. How will we live it? Will you pray with me? Gracious and loving God, we know that sometimes our priorities are quite simply backward. And so, Lord, we ask that you would help us to reorganize, reprioritize our lives. God, would we turn the things that we worry about most, would we turn them away from earthly things and turn them more toward the things that matter most, the godly things? God, would you give us eyes to see those around us, those who are in need of your love, of your mercy. Lord, would we invest our treasure? Would we invest our treasure into the things that matter most? So God, we thank you for the blessings that you have given us. We ask, Lord, that you would then help us to use them wisely. We pray this all in the name of Jesus.